Locker Room, with all the sports news you need, live.
Hello, very good evening to you, and welcome back to the second half of the Locker Room. And believe it or not, the guys are running off their feet here because it's the last show as well. It's been a final season as well, and before Robbie says it, I only do shows now and again. What you would call a part timer to the show, but never mind enough about me. Let's go on to talk about football because I'm sure you've got enough to talk about without talking about me on a Monday night. Final score: Ross County 2, Livingston 4. Livingston won 5-3 on aggregate, and Livingston is back in the Premiership, Robbie. And I know that you said on the first show that you wanted a better game. Well, I think you got a better game.
Aye, we certainly did. It was a cracking game of football. Both halves were superb. I don't think there was any moment where I felt bored watching it, which you probably couldn't say the same for last week's game. It was superb. It was both teams fighting for their lives to try and stay and get up to the Premiership, and Livingston managed to fight well enough. I mean, it was some great goals. Obviously, we'll talk about Robbie Muirhead's goal later, but wow, what a finish that was. Really set the comeback on. Just before we continue, what a great night of football. Hard to look past what happened in at Liverpool, and I just want to say a quick condolences to anybody that was affected, and I hope anybody that was is now all right and stuff like that.
Yeah, well said, Robbie. Of course, before we get into that, the game, Ethan, I think it's maybe worth spending a few minutes to talk about that horrible scenes getting at Liverpool. And before we came on there, that Graham, you may remember, Graham was a value pack to the show. He was at the Liverpool parade, but I texted him tonight, and he's okay. He's back at home now as well. He was still there with his son, Ethan. So Nathan, sorry. So if Graham's watching this, mate, thank goodness everything is okay. But it's a terrible scene. Because fans are going out to celebrate winning the league, but they weren't expecting to see a kind of horrible incident like that, Ethan.
Yeah, as Robbie said, and as you said yourself, Michael, thoughts goes out to everyone that was there, everyone who's been hurt, everyone who has family members that's been hurt. It's a real terrible event that just really sort of a dampener on what from here was a good night of football, but some things are bigger than football, and when it happens just a few hours away, and you've got people like Graham who were there, and you know that it very easily could have been them. It's a real sort of terrible situation. That's all I can say on it. But yeah, I just hope that everyone came out okay, or a lot of people came out okay, but I know there wasn't. So condolences go to the families that have had to suffer through that.
Yeah, and when I heard the news, Robbie, I was thinking about maybe that would be the end, or well, you don't want it to be the end of kind of like street parties in terms of teams winning the league, but some football fans might have a fear at the back of their mind now about going out to celebrate with like their loved ones or their friends and family.
Yeah, I mean, it's a very scary thought. Obviously, anybody who's ever been to the type of parade, you're just going to have a good time. It's probably the last thing on your mind. It's getting to the point now where in the last couple of weeks we've not just seen stuff happening in parades, but it's leaking onto the pitch now. Jack McKenzie, I hope he's recovering well after obviously that injury. So, football only seems, we love it, it's a passion, but it only seems to be getting worse by incidents like this. And I have a feeling something seriously big need to happen beginning into next season, because we can't have stuff like this keep happening on and off the pitch.
Yeah, no, exactly. Well said. And I think you always look at the season overall, even, and obviously we'll touch upon it before the end of the show a bit. Like it's a sad end to the season in terms of what happened tonight, but also Jack McKenzie about Aberdeen. I'm thinking about the Aberdeen fans mocking a disabled St Mirren fan a few weeks ago, and it's just starting to creep back into football, and it's not very nice to see.
No, definitely. Football is a game that we all love. We all want to be involved in. But we only love and want to be involved in it if it's a safe and happy environment, and that's what it should be. Whether you're at the stadium, for the players that are on the pitch, whether you're out celebrating quite rightfully, then people just need to stay clear, not get themselves involved if they have any intentions other than any mindset that they can cause any harm to someone. And that's what happened tonight. And there was another one similar in Spain a few weeks ago when Barcelona won the league at their rival stadium, Espanyol. There was a kind of similar incident. I don't think that one was as bad as this one, but I think the fact that this is in the UK and it's really close, it's worrying, because what's to say that couldn't happen here? It could happen anywhere, and yeah, it's a real sad sort of time and a real sort of time of reflection. I hope for the sport as a whole, because we can't have stuff like this happen on a regular basis.
Yeah, no, okay. So let's go back to the game in hand tonight, Ethan. I said to Robbie at the top of the show, and I'm sure you said this to Reagan on Thursday night, you were expecting a better game tonight. Well, I think you got a better game, and if you weren't happy like that, you're not a football fan. Brilliant game. Ross County 2, Livingston 4. It's 5-3 in aggregate, and Livingston is back up to the Premiership next season.
Yeah, a brilliant game. One of the games of the season, a really good way to end the Scottish football season, especially after the dross that we had to go through last week with the first leg. It wasn't pretty, but yeah, they always seem to turn it on. I think the only shame is that Ross County won't be in. Well, they might be in the playoffs next season, but it always seems to be Ross County who turn the relegation playoffs into something of an absolute spectacle. Thinking back to that, obviously, game against Partick Thistle, but yeah, I think it was a good game, a really good game, especially in the first half. The only sort of disappointing point of it was that it looked like Ross County may run away with the game. They obviously got those two pretty easy goals. Josh Nisbet, who I mentioned on the pre-show, is a player that I think's a player that I like, and I think he's dangerous. He obviously runs in, gets a pretty easy goal, and then Kelly gives the ball away for the second one, and Ronan Hale's in again to score his fourth goal in 4 games. And I think they two players are ones that I would definitely highlight as players that I think Ross County will be hard pushed to hold on to in the Championship. I don't know how much money they can charge for either of them, but I'd imagine there'd be a few suitors in the Premiership looking for Ronan Hale, because he's obviously shown that over the last few seasons he can score in multiple leagues, and in the Irish League, in the Northern Irish League, sorry. And then obviously he's done very well in the Premiership this season. But yeah, then Livingston just turned it on. They obviously got the 1 goal back. And then from there on, they just dominated pretty much Livingston. They had most of the chances, and you could hear the support, which was a really good Livingston turnout, as Robbie mentioned in the pre-show. That got behind them, and they just always had momentum from there on out. And then the Robbie Muirhead goal was I mean, it's an absolute belter, deserving of getting promotion and winning any game. And then obviously Tete Yengi comes off the bench and wins it at the end to send the away end, including the weird banana and the commotion.
Well, you could back that comment up. Robbie from Ethan was it wasn't a banana skin for Livingston tonight. Boom boom. Yes, thank you. Good night.
I mean, at the start of the game, one player that actually disappointed me tonight was Stephen Kelly. I was excited to watch him. I've seen him a few times of the season. He's an experienced head in the midfield, but I thought he had, not just for the second goal, but I thought he had a really poor time at times. And I don't know if that's maybe how direct Livingston went in the first 20 minutes, but I was really disappointed with Ross County at the 90. I thought, bar the 2 goals, how direct were they? I mean, every single time a defender, a midfielder got the ball, it was straight up the top of the park. Ronan Hale rightly should probably want to move up to the Premiership. I think he's good enough, and I don't think he's going to want to go to the Championship to play in a team that he's barely going to get any service. Right enough, good finish for him for that second goal. He's a player that I'd quite like to see at us next season, if possible. But I just don't think Ross County were good enough on the night, and questions have probably got to be asked now of Don Cowie, because that's now 11 games without a win going into the Championship. It'll not be a good start for them. For Martindale, he's going to take immense amount of credit. Absolutely superb to get Livingston back up. In a league where there was so many teams that could cause Livingston problems, they battle through it quite well. They've got a very experienced team getting into the Premiership, and look, I know the last thing we want to see is another plastic pitch added to the Premiership, but if Livingston are going to offer some good football, then I'm all for watching them next season.
I was going to say that to you, Robbie, as well. Looking at Ross County tonight, I thought they were awful tired as well. But do you think that game was a game too far for Ross County tonight?
I think so, and probably just strictly momentum as well. We speak about it all the time. When a team's losing games and unable to win, it can become a hobby at the end of the day, and I think it has for Ross County. And gone 2-0 up as well. For me, you cannot lose in that style of fashion. When you're 2-0 up in a game, Don Cowie is more than experienced enough to know that when you're 2-0 up, and let's be honest, at that point, after 24 minutes, Livingston never really offered it and going forward. You think Ross County would have been able to manage it a bit better, but Ross County, but you've got to give credit to Livingston. They fought in really well, and David Martindale's done it once again.
Yeah, definitely. And yeah, the plastic pitches will definitely be a talking point, because I think it's the first time since, I think it was Steve Clark got Kilmarnock third was the last season that they had 3 plastic pitches, and that was when Hamilton Accies were in the league, along with Livingston and Kilmarnock, obviously, but Livingston are getting a new plastic pitch, so we'll have to see the quality of it. I do think it'll probably be better than the one they currently have, and you can maybe even point to that being the reason why last week's game was so terrible, because that pitch is really, really bad. Falkirk's pitch doesn't look too bad. Kilmarnock's I don't think is great, but we're moving towards all grass soon in the Premiership. So
I think what Ethan, what if you didn't realise that Falkirk's Park wasn't a plastic park, you wouldn't have guessed it, because I feel as though, I don't know about you guys, but I mean, out of all the plastic parks, between Falkirk and Airdrie is one of the better 2 surfaces.
Yeah, definitely.
Falkirk is brilliant.
Yeah, even I went to a team that Falkirk were playing actually this season. Just a random Scottish Cup game I went to was East Kilbride v Falkirk, and even East Kilbride's plastic pitch is probably better than Livingston and Kilmarnock. So, I mean, you can use the plastic pitch, but you need to get it into at least playable quality. And I think that's what Livingston are looking to do, hopefully, because they've come out and said that they're going to be getting a new one. But no, a brilliant achievement by David Martindale. I wrote them off this season. I didn't think they would be able to bounce back after the terrible campaign they had in the Premiership last season. But they didn't win the league. They went through the playoffs, which we've seen have been difficult and have favoured the Premiership team in recent years, or favoured Ross County in recent years. But obviously, third time unlucky for Ross County. They're down, and I think it's going to be difficult for them to come back up. I don't see it. I see Johnston. I'd be a lot more confident on them fighting for that title than I am with Ross County, especially with the players they might lose, and they've obviously got a lot of loan players from England as well. And I think Don Cowie, he's going to face probably a lot of criticism from the support and a lot of calls for his head, which he'll have to deal with. But David Martindale, another magical job he's done at Livingston, and he just keeps them in there, and he keeps them amongst the elite of Scottish football.
It's so poetic if next season Ross County take on a Premiership team in the playoffs, because it'll just, completely flip the cards on what we're used to see.
Yeah, definitely. And as you said, momentum's so important. Ross County on the terrible run they are, it's difficult to find a win, especially when you're facing a team that are a similar level to you. It's not as if they're facing a team in the league below, but Livingston have been brilliant this season, especially in the second half. They finished the season brilliantly. They took care of Partick Thistle with ease. They've obviously already beaten Ross County this season in one of the cups, so it was never going to be an easy game for Ross County. But I think with the way they went out, being 2 goals up, not really having to work for those 2 goals either, they took them well, Nisbet and Hale. Strangely enough, although Ronan Hale's nearly scored 20 goals this season, that was for Nisbet's goal, that was his first assist of the season, which is quite strange. But yeah, they took their goals well, but they'll be hurting because Livingston shouldn't have had any right to win that match by 2 goals for where Ross County were over halfway through the first half.
I'd probably go as far to say as Livingston's bench probably matches Ross County's team, to be honest. And I know Ross County have got some good talent in there, but you look at Livingston's bench, and half of the players could easily make it in a Premiership team very easily. So, full credit needs to go to Martindale and the recruitment team, because they've got it spot on. And to be honest, I know the whole plastic pitch will be a thing for the next few weeks, but I'm more excited just to see if Martindale will stick by his philosophy in the top flight. If he reverts back to this defensive, slow style of football, it'll be nice to watch. But if he keeps playing this style, then I think like World Cup, they could pick up some good results next season.
Definitely. That is sometimes difficult to change from that style. I don't know. I can't remember whether he's really done it in the past, because I can't remember the last time. Well, I remember the last time they were in the Championship, but it was quite a while ago now. So, yeah, I don't know whether he'll flip it on its head and go back to what he kind of knows in the Premiership, which is defence first, and see what you can get kind of thing. But it obviously worked terribly in the Premiership last season, so he might just go with what's worked this season and have a real go for it and see what they can do. But I think Livingston, they'll have to bring quite a bit in, because I know they've got a decent squad. They've got a really good squad for the Championship, don't get me wrong, but I just think with what they've got there now, if they were to go into the season with that, I think they would struggle next season. So I think they'll have to bring in a few heads, but I don't think there's anyone else the Livingston fans would rather have in charge than David Martindale to sort that out, and he'll be hoping that he can give them another run of 5 years-ish in the Premiership, because they're massive underdogs financially, and he's continued to do a ridiculously good job with them.
And of course, Robbie, I know more bad news for Ross County. Obviously, they've got relegated tonight, but I think they'll have a meeting pretty soon, maybe tomorrow, with Roy McGregor about the budget cuts as well.
Yeah, I mean, I said it before the game, and I was actually quite pleased with how the officiating went during the game. I think the referee was decent, Nick Walsh, and I don't think we had too much to intervene when they did. I think they got it right. But I was saying that, getting relegated, it's not just a matter of the club, it's the players as well. They'll maybe need some wage deductions and stuff like that. And obviously, with players to lose, they'll not be able to bring in as many quality players as they maybe could in the Premiership. So a whole bundle of things like that is going to make it a really tough job for Don Cowie next season. If he's still in the job, that will obviously be another talking point in the next few weeks. I really don't know how to call how Ross County will do in the Championship. It's so tough. It's such a good league next year. It's setting up to be a cracker a season with some really good teams in there. So it's going to be an interesting season next year.
Yeah. I was sorry. I was just going to say, Michael, there's not a lot of players that in that team, that Ross County team, that fill me with a lot of confidence. Going into the new season. Okay, if they keep Ronan Hale and Josh Nisbet, who's been an Australian international quite recently, then okay, they're two of their main players, but I think they'll be hard pushed to hold on to them, to be honest. I mean, I'll ask you the question: what teams in the Premiership, apart from Celtic and Rangers, wouldn't take Ronan Hale?
If Hearts keep Shankland, probably Hearts. I don't think they need Ronan Hale, to be honest with you. I mean, I think as an option, I don't think any team's going to reject him, but I don't think Hearts would necessarily need to sign him if they can.
They were the ones that I was thinking, yeah.
Yeah, I was going to stick my neck on the line, guys, and say maybe Hearts, maybe Kilmarnock, but I'll definitely Dundee, because obviously you've got Lyle Cameron going to Rangers as well. And and obviously, you can speak for your own clubs, St Mirren, Robbie, but I think you've got enough there at the business end of the park as well. But I mean, you were going to say no to him, But I mean, I still think maybe a kind of Dundee Kilmarnock kind of team would go after Hale for goals as well.
But I think the problem with us is we've got two players that are identical in Mandro and Nayunga. We don't have that fast player like Ronan Hale, so it's definitely a good pickup. I think the question I'd like to ask you back is, would any of the big two take him? You look at Rangers, and Rangers have been linked with some strikers that have scored nearly 20 goals in the Premiership season, like Simon Murray this season. I've seen him linked with Rangers. Would they possibly take a punt on
him? I don't think so. I think he could go to any team in the Premiership apart from Celtic and Rangers. I don't think they would take him. They might, but I don't see it. I think the only one I would see that the reason not to take him would maybe be Hearts, because if Shankland stays and they sign Elton Cabango, then you've got two strikers there who have shown in moments they've obviously got enough quality. But even like the likes of Hibs, I mean, I don't think he would be a terrible option for Hibs to have. Obviously, they've got Kieran Bowie and they've got Kukarevich as well. But yeah, I think most of the clubs would take him. I don't know. I don't think any of Celtic or Rangers would take him, but he's definitely had a really good season and been Ross County's standout player.
I think maybe the difference of Ross County staying up this season and Ross County fans might be they're regretting selling Simon Murray now, Robbie, because I think he scored 2 goals last season in the playoffs at home against what was it, Race Rovers at home. Yeah. And I think he was a distance between them actually staying up and going down, because I mean, everywhere he goes, even at Queen's Park, I mean, he was scoring goals for fun every week.
Yeah, I mean, I think that's what maybe Cowie try to replicate with White and Hale. You have White, who's meant to be like the Simon Murray, he's meant to be the aggressive guy, the physical guy, and then you've got Hale that can run after him. I mean, like we speak about players making a difference. I thought Ronan Hale, for all the Ross County loss, did make a difference for the attacking sense of Ross County anyway. But for me, I mentioned it before the game, the defence is the biggest worry for both teams getting into that game. They're both defensively so frail that any good attack for either team, and because they both have strong attacks, could really punish each other. And that's what we've seen. We get 6 goals in the game, so it wasn't the best defensively, and I think Ronan Hale did make a difference.
Yeah, definitely. I definitely agree. I think Simon Murray was the different factor maybe on why Dundee are not in the play. I'm not saying Dundee would have got relegated, but if they hadn't found someone like Simon Murray, then the goals he provided throughout the season, then they would have been struggling definitely. So yeah, but it'll just be interesting to see where Ronan Hale will go, if he'll leave, how much Ross County want for him. That could be another thing that could price out a lot of the clubs in the Premiership. Because if they're wanting, he's got 2 years left on his deal, and if they're wanting maybe 500 grand or over, then that probably prices out quite a lot of teams in the Premiership.
I mean, when you going back and scripting the game back, Robbie, like Ross County took the league through Nisbet, and you're thinking, well, yeah, this can only go on way now for Ross County because they've got the upper hand. But as we kept saying, and I think we said it last season as well on the show when Livingston was up. Livingston is quite a kind of like stuffy team to play against. Sometimes like they remind me of Hamilton in the kind of way, because Hamilton was a kind of get 11 men behind the ball and make it difficult for the opponent, and obviously that's what Livingston did when they were actually in the Premiership, and that's what they've done tonight as well.
Yeah, I mean, look, the first goal was a really nice bit of play actually for Ross County on the left-hand side. I thought it was a decent run for Ronan Hale, then obviously the ball across to Nisbet for basically a tap-in. It was really nice work. At that point, we spoke in the pre-show about whoever get the first goal was so crucial in the game, and I think we all pinpointed that it had to be Don Gowie, because that team, now 11 games without a win 10 before, needed to start well. They did. And to lose it in the fashion that they did, then I'm taking nothing away for Livingston. Also, we're going to talk about it later. But to me, you just cannot throw a game away like that. If you're 2 goals up, and again, I mentioned it earlier, even after the first goal, Livingston didn't look like anything special up until the second goal. They were, as you said, they were very stuffy, sitting back, choosing their moments to counter attack, barely getting anything at the top end of the pitch. I thought it was going to be a really long night for Livingston, but it was a nice first goal by Ross County.
Yeah, definitely. Ross County just threw it away, really. You can't throw a 2-goal lead away in a game like this and expect to win it. As soon as it went to 2 each, the momentum was always going to be with Livingston. And you can't really do anything about Robbie Muirhead's goal. It's one of those ones where you just need to kind of sit back and go, well, that's just a brilliant goal. And then the last one doesn't really matter in the grand scheme of things, last kick of the ball. But yeah, Ross County just didn't do enough. And Livingston were well deserving. They were probably the slightly better team in the first leg, and they're probably the better team again tonight. So I don't think Ross County can have much complaints. But I think one thing that's refreshing to see is that that there is the playoffs has actually got a team up, because in recent years it's just been the team that's got promoted, and then the team that's won the playoffs from the Championship's just not been able to get up. So it's nice to have a sort of change in that sense. And it's nice to see another thing that all the fans, even though the pitch invaded, they all seem to be behaving from what we've seen so far, which is a good change. I even seen fans of both teams going up to console Ronan Hale, which was quite nice, but maybe suggests that the Livingston fans are saying, well, we know you weren't at fault, and even the Ross County fans are going, well, we know you weren't at fault, you've done your part, kind of thing. But yeah, that was another point that I picked up on compared to last week, where we obviously had the spitting incident, which was just disgusting.
Yeah, I mean, yeah. So Robbie, there you go.
No, I was just going to say, I feel bad for Amisa. I actually really like him as a goalkeeper. I've liked him throughout the whole season. Obviously conceding 4, and you've got to say, probably none of them were his fault, to be honest. But I thought I'd just throw it in there. What I can describe what I've just seen is if you've ever watched Family Guy and Peter Griffin does the dance where he moves his arms up and down, I've just seen David Martin do that live on Sky Sports, so that was quite a funny watch, that.
him and Chris Boyd maybe. That would be fun a bit. No, I mean, Ethan. I know that we spoke about a series issue at the top of the show, and I think you got to remind me of that as well. But if both sets of fans are going up to Ronan Hill after the game, well, I mean, it's brilliant to see that compared to the scenes that we saw at the end of the game last week. I know I wasn't on the show last week, but obviously I was behind the cameras as well, and I was keeping you and Reagan kind of up to date, and I can't believe what I saw at the end of the game, you know. And I don't know if you saw as well that David Martindale basically, if you can lip leak, he was basically saying to the Don Cowie on the park, I'm sorry about that after the game, and I thought that was quite nice of kind of like David Martindale to see that. But it was a sorry end to a kind of important game that Ethan, and it took away the game, if you know what I mean. And the headlines was all about what went on after the game instead of during the game.
Yeah, and yeah, it wasn't a great game, but the headlines should never be about something like that. And that Livingston fan ruined the Livingston fans as a whole reputation. And David Martindale came out and said that after, because one person's misbehaving, then it ruins and it puts a dent on the whole of the Livingston support. But there didn't seem to be the pitch invaded, but it was quite considering some pitch invasions. It's quite how could I word it? Quite a respectful pitch invasion. Could I say that? They've went on. They've enjoyed it with their players, their manager. I seen David Martindale kind of speaking to some of the fans like he's their pals, and that's what we like to see, because we do get some ugly moments where fans are going on and rubbing it in the faces of Ross County players, and that's just something you never want to see, because that can create some ugly moments like we've seen last week. But from what we've seen so far, it was a nice end to watch. What was a really, really good match.
I mean, going back to what you were saying earlier on, Ethan, as well, and I'll be interested to get Robbie's take on it as well. That if you look at the two benches tonight, I think Livingston was a far stronger bench, because Yengi scored a good goal, Nottingham, but also they've got kind of like senior players as well that they've been about the Premiership. They've seen it, done it, got the T-shirt in terms of like Shinnie and May as well. And I don't know about you guys, but when it comes to the kind of cup games or Premiership playoffs, you need that a bit of kind of like experience in your team as well. And I think looking at the Livy bench tonight, they got it in abundance.
Yeah. Sorry, I was just going to say, I definitely agree. Ross County, looking at the bench, I mean, they only made 3 subs, Ross County, so maybe that tells you the sort of. I mean, I know Livingston only made 4 of their 5, but maybe that shows the sort of, because it's not often nowadays that you see a team make just the 3 subs. Usually they'll make all 5, especially in a game like this where, I mean, what's his name? Let me see it. I'll get it here. Campbell. Yeah, Campbell was absolutely toying at the end of the game. You could see that. And obviously that's why the 4th goal happens, because Tete Yengi just kind of shrugs him off because he's not even fully able to play, and yeah, he's still got him on. Whereas Livingston, as you said, they've got some experienced players who have played in the Premiership. Yengi, Nottingham were both part of the Livingston squad in the Premiership last year. Stevie May, obviously.
I forgot about Tate as well. Sorry.
Yeah, no, Macaulay Tate as well. Obviously on loan from Hearts. He's been a mainstay in the Livingston team this season. He obviously, Martindale chose to take him out tonight, but it obviously worked. So That's what Martindale gets his money for, and he's worked it perfectly. But yeah, I do think Livingston will need to add a little bit to that squad if they want to be safe next season, because it'll be a very competitive Premiership.
One player that particularly impressed me tonight was Lewis Smith. I think his first name's Lewis, midfielder for Livingston. I didn't know that he'd spent so long in Scotland. It's my first time I can properly remember ever properly seeing him in a game. I thought he was outstanding tonight. I thought, until he obviously got took off, everything that was going through Livingston was going through him in some way or another. I mean, he's only 25 as well. I think Boyd was speaking about him pre-match as well. So I'd be surprised if Livingston can keep a hold of a player like that, because I think he does bring a lot to their table. But like Ethan's right, they will need to strengthen coming up. You know, it's already a well-balanced team. I think they add some signings in there. I think one player that I was maybe disappointed with Livingston was Christian Montano. I don't think he done nearly enough for them, but look, there were a multitude of good performers for Livingston. Daniel Finlayson, who get put in, I thought he was good on the night. I thought Brandon was alright. I thought Teddy Yenge was decent when he came on as well. So, you know, Livingston, they'll just enjoy the next couple of weeks, because that's the problem with Scottish football. I think that the teams don't like is it's only a couple of weeks until you need to start building for next season, because, you know, we're only 2 days away for the Premier Sports Cup draw. So it's the new season's coming up thick and fast.
Like that Robbie Band from the show, even from that season, I was ready to sit outside in my deck chair and go into a swimming pool, but Robbie's absolutely just spoiled it. I mean, why did I come back tonight for, Ethan? If Robbie was going to say that, but yeah, I mean, I think I saw. Did you say that? Is it Friday? No, next week that the draw from the league. Stages of the cup.
Wednesday.
Wednesday.
Yeah.
Well, at least it's got a few days even off, you know.
By the way, I don't want to go off of the game too much, but I did just see news that Ross Doohan's set to join Celtic, which is quite an interesting move. I don't know if that's been pre-arranged, but that's just something that sort of popped up. Quite a good signing, I think, for Celtic. Though.
Yeah, I've seen that one. I think that came around. It came around first a few months ago, and it was a bit of a strange rumour. Obviously, former Celtic Academy graduate. Obviously went to England. I can't the team that he's actually currently at. I know he's on loan at Aberdeen this season, but the team he was actually at in England is escaping my mind at the moment. But went down to England. He's had a decent season at Aberdeen. Obviously had to cover for Dimitar Mitov at points when he's had his injuries. So yeah, that's a really good signing for Celtic as a third choice goalkeeper. Can't really complain. And it's difficult to find goalkeepers of that quality that want to come and know that, yes, he'll probably want to compete, but Sinisalo and Schmeichel, I know he didn't show at the weekend, Schmeichel, but two really good goalkeepers. So he's going to have his work cut out if he is heading to Celtic Park, but I think it might be the end for Scott Bain probably, because I don't see why else Celtic would be making that signing unless Scott Bain was going the other way.
I know that we were saying earlier on, Robbie, about the budget cuts would have to come to Ross County, but I'm not sure. Maybe you guys can let me know in the chat as well, but I don't know if Livingston gets some money for coming up. So as well as Ross County budgets are cut, Livingston might have some more money in the coffers, as it were, to buy a few more players for next season.
It's funny you say that, because I'm not too sure how it works up here, and I'm sure somebody else will know, but down in England, I know Sunderland, who recently just won the playoffs, they don't get an extra penny for winning in the playoffs, which I found quite interesting in the English system. I don't know if it's any different up here, teams might, but I did find that quite interesting.
Yeah.
Sorry, Ethan.
No, I was just going to say, because I mean, it is extra games, isn't it? So, and it is like a tournament almost. So you can see why you could maybe make the case that he does deserve a little bit of extra money to thingy it, to fund a promotion.
I thought it was the case that Sky makes pay. Sky, like if they bounce out into the Championship, they get money from even getting relegated compared to up here in Scotland. But I don't know if it's a different situation when it comes to the playoffs.
I know, I'm not sure, but I mean, you mentioned Sky there. One thing that will suit Livingston is they'll obviously have their TV money back because they'll be featured a lot more on Sky and other places during the season. So that will get them a wee bit of money at the time as well. But no, that is an interesting one.
Yeah, but I think I've made this point, and I'll probably sound like a broken record, but at least for Livingston, I think are a few players away from being able to really have a go and compete in the Premiership. I'm not saying go for Europe or anything, but I'm saying be able to be safe in the Premiership. Where I think, speaking about Sunderland, I really can't see any scenario where Sunderland don't finish bottom of the Premier League next season. I mean, great achievement for them getting back into the Premier League through the playoffs, but I really think that their squad is so far away from even Burnley and Leeds, never mind, Spurs, who finished bottom of the rest of the team. So, I mean, that's what you're up against.
It's interesting because, look at the Premiership getting into next season. You've obviously took out Ross County and put Livingston into the mix. I don't know if we're going to do predictions next season, but I honestly struggle to see how anybody's going to predict rock bottom in the 11th. It is such a tight league next season. Honestly, there's so many good teams in the league that I genuinely could not pick out a favourite to finish bottom.
Am I not right in saying, guys, that a few seasons ago, Livingston made the top 6 once in one season?
Yeah,
I don't know if it was a first season up or whatever, but they definitely made the top 6 one of the seasons.
I think they might have done it twice. One of the seasons, I think they came 5th in the season that got the COVID season that get ended early. But I want to say that they finished top 6 in another season. I'm not 100% sure on that, but they've definitely shown that they're capable of. Martindale's capable of getting a squad together that can go and do that. I can't see them doing it in the first season, but you never know. He's a man of many talents at Livingston, David Martindale, and he's pulled off miracles before. So you wouldn't put it past him, but yeah, it's really sort of difficult to call, as Robbie said. I think who I pick, Livingston and Kelly to go down the two of the 3 plastic pitches.
I wonder why.
No, I'm reserving my predictions. I just said that because so we save them changing their pitches.
I mean, it has been a good season for Livingston as well, because obviously not all people know this, but like Livingston had a lot of off-field battles as well, Robbie, with like the court cases going on this season for Livingston as well. So, but Mr. Livingston, I know that we call Sir David Gray at Hibs, but I think we should call Sir David Martindale at Livingston. I don't know how that will go down well, but I mean he's got brilliantly well over the years. I mean, was he not assistant manager to? I can't remember who the manager was at the time, and then he was. Well, it was made up to manager since then. So, is he kind of a statue maybe outside Livingston?
Aye, well, look, you don't need to go into the off-field stuff with David Martindale, but he's been through a lot, and to be a manager that's now back in the Premiership after being in the Championship is an impressive achievement. And to do it in a style that no one gave Livingston a chance. There was very few people last season, at the beginning of this season, that predicted Livingston would come straight back up. I mean, a lot of people were thinking the Hamilton would happen to them and they just keep gone down. But he's built well. He's got a good coaching team in at Livingston. He's got everything set in his ways that he runs the club. I think that's why Martindale worked so well at Livingston, because I think Martindale's more than just a manager, and that's not me saying that he's on the board and all this. I don't think he is, but he's definitely got a big part to play in Livingston. He's got a big say in things, so I think that's maybe why they two work so well together, because it is such a well-run club under him that I honestly could not imagine a world without Martindale as Livingston manager now. It'll be weird the day he decides to leave.
Yeah, definitely. I would agree. I think, to Michael's point, I think he probably does deserve a statue with the impact he's had. Because, I mean, you've got to remember as well, Livingston were in the Championship for a while, but they got relegated to League One, and then he got them double promoted, the same as John McGlynn done. So, I mean, it's a remarkable achievement that they're back in the Premiership because, as Robbie said, I was amongst the quite a lot of people that thought they were going to go sort of down under and down towards League One and like that. But no, they've stayed in the Championship and they've came straight back up through the playoffs, which is not an easy thing to do in a very competitive Championship season. So you've got to take your hat off to David Martindale, and the sky seems the limit for him and what he can do at Livingston. I think what he'll want to do now is he'll want to bring I know they've won the Trust trophy this season, but he'll want to go and he'll believe that he can go and win a cup for Livingston. They obviously got to the League Cup final in that season. St Johnstone won it, but he'll want to go one step further now, and that'll probably be on his mind.
Just don't. The last thing I ever want to see on this earth is David Martindale getting to Hampden again before us. Just don't. I don't even want to picture that. That would be horrible.
Right, guys. Quick question for you. If there's this question till last, right? I've got a Beamer bonnet now, right? So I need to ask you this, right? Playoffs, final, 1 game or 2 games, Robbie?
I feels like we have this discussion all the time, Michael, but it should obviously be 1 game. It should be 1 game at a neutral location. That's the way playoffs would be. Obviously, I don't know if anybody keeps an interest, but in the West of Scotland League, it's a very weird playoff system as well. You know, you finish top of the league and you still need to play a playoffs to get your way up. So, I mean, you know, there's a couple of weird things, but it should be 1 game every day of the week. It should be in a neutral location. I don't know whether it'll be Hampden or Lesser Hampden or and a maybe middle ground between whatever 2 clubs are in it, but I think it does need to be 1 game.
I would agree. Yeah, I would agree. I think you just give the fans the chance to go to Hampden, because I mean it's the same in England. The clubs that are going to Wembley for these occasions don't really get the chance to go to Hampden. I know teams that have played Queen's Park in the past have obviously got the chance to go to Hampden, but it's not really the same where you're going to Hampden to fight to win something, to win promotion. And yeah, I think the playoffs throughout need re-looked at. The entering the League Two that like East Kilbride done this season is another thing that needs reworked as well. And yeah,
By the way, I would maybe go. Sorry, Ethan. I would maybe go 1 step further and put a cup up as well. Yeah.
I don't see why not. Why not get a cup for winning it? And yeah, I think that's something we should have. Or what you could do even as well is you could just. It's quite simple. You could just relegate the bottom 2 teams in the Premiership automatically. The winner of the Championship goes up. 2nd and 3rd and 4th plays a playoff. The winner of that automatically goes up. And yeah, that would probably be a lot easier. I know a lot of the Premiership clubs wouldn't like that, but it would probably make it more fair and it would make it more fresh when we are getting 2 teams regularly coming in and out of the Premiership rather than just the one that we've seen quite recently.
I mean, Robbie, we've got the Champions League final next week, right? Imagine the faces on the fans if UEFA comes out with a statement tonight to say, by the way, guys, the final won't be decided on Saturday night. We'll be playing the final on Saturday and Wednesday night as well.
You just don't get the same moments. Like you look at the Europa League one that happened last week. Like, can you imagine Tottenham won the game 1-0 and then went, no, but you need to go to Old Trafford next week to go and try and keep that 1-0 lead. Like, it just completely ruin it, and I think it does. And I think, you know, see when Ronan Hale scored that penalty in the first leg. Imagine that was a neutral game and that was to send them to extra time. It would just have so much of a better feeling to it than having to come and play this game, which Ross County then going to lose.
Yeah, you're making the two-legged affairs work for anything that's not a final because it's naturally fair. You play one game at home, one game away. But for a final, if you're making it across 2 legs, if you're, for example, like Michael said, if you make the Champions League final across 2 legs, then you're pretty much making it half a final. So it's half as big, it's half as important, it's half the event.
Yeah.
Where if you just put it into one, then it's double as important, it's double the event, probably get a lot more viewership, and you probably get a lot more people going to the game as well. So it seems like a no-brainer, but well, what do we know?
I mean, I'm still to be convinced, guys, and maybe you can convince me about the quarterfinal. I mean, I'm okay with the quarterfinal and the semi-final being over 2 legs, or maybe I'm not. But the final is totally different because, as Ethan was saying, do what they do in England, make it a. I mean, who has a final at 8 o'clock on a Monday night? You know, this should have been playing at, 4 o'clock yesterday afternoon, and convince Ross County and Livingston fans to go there and make it. I'm sure. I think. I'm sure somebody said this in the pre-show, make it £5 to get in for both sets of fans. And, and maybe ask Sky to pump more money into football as and say go that playoffs, because I know Sky only covers the final. What is a bit weird to me, because BBC covers it up till the semi-final, and then it goes on to Sky.
Aye. I mean, what I will say tonight is I actually thought Ross County get the ticket prices all right, £20 for an adult, which, it's not the worst ticket price in the world that we've definitely seen this season anyway. It is a bit of a weird one, you probably think people at BBC are probably quite frustrated that they don't get to show the final as well, because, they're showing every other game in the playoffs, why not get to show the final? But aye, look, again, as Ethan said 2 minutes ago, what do we know?
Yeah. No, just to tackle another point you made, Michael, about the earlier rounds being 1 leg, I could even understand that as well, because if you have third against fourth, for example, then I know that the reward for coming third instead of fourth is meant to be that you have the home game second, and that's meant to be the advantage. But you could just play it at the third place's ground, and then that's a real advantage in a one-off game. Because second place, and I know second place was Livingston, and they obviously reaped the advantage of the playoffs. But if a team finishes second, 10 points ahead of fourth, and then fourth beats them in a two-legged tie, is that really that fair? Whereas if you have it at if you have a one game tie at seconds ground, then it gives them much more of an advantage, and then it probably serves it right who makes the final. But yeah, I think I would still say 2 legs and the sort of rounds before the final, and then a 1 leg final. I think that's the best approach.
Robbie, as we enter I think that the guy at New Year, as we enter the final moments of the season, it's going to be quite exciting that season, because obviously, I don't know about you guys, but I'm going to call it the new Premiership in terms of Falkirk, Livingston back in. You've got Derek McInnes at Hearts. You've got Stuart Kettlewell coming in. By the way, I'm happy to see him back in the game at Kilmarnock. And obviously, you've got Tony Docherty out of a job. That was a weird decision from me, actually, but I think he'll find his way back into the game in a few days' time. So quite exciting to look forward to. And also, will Rangers get took over by these American owners?
I mean, you've asked me a lot of questions there, Michael. I think Tony Docherty will be in the Motherwell job by next week. That would be my prediction. You're right, it is good to see Kettlewell back, and it's looking like a very good Premiership. who's going to be the next Rangers manager? The reports are still saying David Ancelotti, but something tells me it might just be Gerrard. There's so many questions, and again, as I said, there's no long until we're into the new season. But what a season this has been! I mean, if you would have said at the start, Celtic would win 2 cups, Aberdeen would win a cup, Rangers would sack Clement, McInnes would be sacked by Kilmarnock. I mean, just wow, what a season we've had. Who would have predicted Dundee United to get top 6? Just so many crazy things have happened this season, but we need to do it all again soon. I mean, surely next season couldn't be as mental as this one.
Yeah, hopefully next season. The only thing I would say that we want is a real sort of title race, because this season wasn't a title race. And apart from that, everything else was pretty entertaining. We obviously had some competition for Europe. We had a relegation battle right until the end. We had another interesting playoff. We had another thing we would want more of is the teams doing a little bit better in Europe. I know Rangers done their bit. Celtic obviously had a tough task with Bayern Munich.
We done our bit.
Yeah, Smirnin done okay. Yeah, but
what I will say is we might actually get to see Brann versus Rangers next season in the Champions League qualifiers. So there you go.
Well, yeah, and I know Rangers have got a really tough test if they get past the third round of qualifying, because I think it's Club Brugge or Benfica. So that'll be pretty tough, but you never know what Rangers have got up their sleeve with their ownership, if it's coming in and their new manager. But with how the managers have been swapping about the Premiership recently, I wouldn't be surprised if Brendan Rodgers is the next Rangers manager.
Something like Mo Johnson there comes to mind. Ethan goes in with a big 2-footed tackle at the end of the season with Brendan Rodgers moving to Rangers. I can't believe that. We might make papers after that, guys. I don't know. So it only leaves me to say thanks to all the guys that's been on the show this season. It's been a real hard struggle at times, but we've got there. Thanks to Ethan from you're the newest member of the team, so at the night out you've got to stand up in front of 25 people and sing a song, whatever you want to choose.
No, I don't think I do. They'll set me up.
Show me the way to go home, maybe. I don't know. So yeah, thanks to Robbie, thanks to Ethan, thanks to Reagan, thanks to everybody. It's contributed this season. It's been brilliant. And also it's been a busy season because we covered Celtic, Rangers, Scotland as well. We'll be back next season, well, as Robbie likes to put it, 4 weeks. And we'll do it all again, and we maybe get a big announcement coming. No, I'm not pregnant, but guys...
Michael, not even your holiday, but Scotland they're playing 16 days, so make it that one.
Yeah, exactly. I'm trying not to think about that one. I think I'm away.
Oh yeah,
at that time.
We've got to come on and cover the Club World Cup as well.
Yeah. Anything else? The junior, the hide and seek championships outside my back door. That's going to be exciting as well. Thanks, guys, and we will see you next season. Thanks for watching. Thanks for all your comments this season. The numbers have been brilliant. We'll be back in August, or Robbie will be back maybe tomorrow night. I don't know. So we'll see you soon, and thanks for watching. And stick here till next season, and we'll be back.
The Locker Room, with all the sports news you need, live